Number 5 is Category 5 Hurricane Michael. Even though it's the most powerful hurricane I've ever intercepted, as I rode it out in my Subaru, right in the middle, the winds are going up and over top. I could see the light coloring of the eye. Number 4 is Hurricane Laura. Made landfall in Cameron Parish in Louisiana and slammed Lake Charles head on, intercepting the front most powerful eye wall. Number 3 is Hurricane Harvey. Making landfall as a Category 4 in Rockport, Texas. We were right there in the center of the eye, but really the mega flood disaster in the days after in the Houston area.
I can't believe that this is an actual highway.
That was a very intimidating feeling, being trapped right in downtown Houston and just seeing the flooding disaster play out around us in the days after. There's our Simon's vehicle. The number 2 most extreme hurricane chase I've ever had is Hurricane Katrina. And that was in 2005. I was a lot younger at 25 years old.
Have you ever seen anything like this here before? Like once every 200 years flood?
The flood waters and the storm surge of Hurricane Katrina was very intimidating, very intense. You had water that was about 15 feet deep.
We're about to get into the eye.
And Hurricane Ian is the top most extreme hurricane chase that I've ever experienced. I was getting that raw Category 4 to Category 5 eye wall just ripping off the Gulf of Mexico. Got to experience the 15-foot plus storm surge. A couple of days of survival mode on Pine Island as well, as the bridge was completely knocked out. And so Hurricane Ian is the top most extreme hurricane chase I've ever had in my career.
AccuWeather presents Hurricanes, Danger, and Destruction.
Hurricane season officially begins on June 1st, but it typically doesn't peak in the Atlantic until mid-August through the end of September. This is when conditions are perfect for strong tropical storms and hurricanes. 80% of all tropical cyclones in the Atlantic basin form during this relatively short time period. When you look at the history of the Atlantic basin, from mid to late August through September is when we often see much of our tropical activity. It's not uncommon for us to have a storm threaten the U.S. right around Labor Day. Westerly winds high in the atmosphere are often active between May and early August, producing extra wind shear. This causes these large clusters of thunderstorms to become tilted, making it harder for them to organize into a tropical depression or storm. The westerlies die down by mid-August, allowing for storms to have a better chance of organizing. The number of hurricanes usually declines by mid to late October as ocean temperatures cool.
Hurricanes are one of the most destructive forces on the planet. It's well known about the sheer power these storms are capable of. But how and where does a hurricane get its strength? The answer comes from the heart of the ocean. When water is evaporated from the surface of a warm ocean, it feeds into the system and acts as a fuel to power the storm. Therefore, the hotter the ocean surface, the more powerful a hurricane becomes. These storms can also weaken if they move over cold water. That's why hurricanes are not as common in the northeastern U.S. as they are in the southeastern parts of the country. The ocean waters tend to be cooler. Wind shear, disruptive winds high in the atmosphere, can also cause hurricanes to weaken. Meteorologists are committed to monitoring and understanding these powerful storms to the greatest accuracy possible to determine how powerful the hurricane is expected to become and where the storm is headed. Reporting for AccuWeather, I'm Melissa Constancer.
Hurricanes, or even just a tropical storm, can have a devastating impact. To better measure a storm's strength, AccuWeather developed the Real Impact Scale for hurricanes, which assesses wind speed, flooding rain, storm surge, and economic damage and loss to determine a storm's true impact.
Enabling us to really talk about a more complete picture of what the risk to life and property is in an area that's going to be impacted from a hurricane, far beyond just talking about the wind alone, which is the only thing the Saffir-Simpson scale considers.
Since the 70s, meteorologists have used the Saffir-Simpson scale to measure hurricane strength. The scale solely utilizes wind speeds to categorize hurricanes on a scale of 1 to 5. AccuWeather hurricane expert Dan Kotlowski says the Real Impact Scale was created following 2018's Hurricane Florence. AccuWeather Real Impact Scale uses a 1 to 5 rating system and includes an additional rating of less than 1, which provides insight on hurricanes and tropical storms that don't rise to a Category 1 on the Saffir-Simpson scale.
The idea here is that people will realize that this is a much more problematic storm than, let's say, if it was a tropical storm or hurricane, Cat 1 hurricane, that even no storms can cause phenomenal flooding problems.
Kotlowski says he hopes the AccuWeather Real Impact Scale helps more people understand the severity of storms that may not receive a high Saffir-Simpson scale rating.
We're trying to get people away from just looking at the wind, looking more at the problem of water. More people die from storm surge and inland flooding than they do from wind.
For AccuWeather, I'm Lincoln Riddle.
When a hurricane makes landfall, many people are worried about this. Extremely dangerous winds like Category 5 hurricanes Andrew and Michael with landfall wind speeds over 160 miles per hour.
Both hurricanes caused damage that looked like a massive tornado, flattening almost every structure.
AccuWeather lead hurricane forecaster Dan Kotlowski says rainfall is also a serious threat, especially with slow-moving storms like Hurricane Harvey that hit Texas in 2017.
Causing phenomenal flooding. Rainfall totals were somewhere between 45 and 55 inches.
But surprisingly, it's a lesser-known hurricane threat that's actually more dangerous and deadly than wind and rain. AccuWeather Chief Meteorologist John Porter says the biggest concern is storm surge.
The storm surge flooding, life-threatening flooding, can occur oftentimes well away from where the wind impact is occurring from a hurricane.
Sadly, Hurricane Katrina in 2005 proved that to be true, producing catastrophic damage and loss of life.
We had storm surge heights well over 25 feet in several places. Storm surge went inland for a few miles. We'd never seen a storm produce that much storm surge.
Helping residents truly understand the real risk of these powerful and destructive storms inspired AccuWeather to develop the AccuWeather Real Impact Scale for hurricanes.
The water threat in terms of both the storm surge and coastal inundation, the flooding threat well inland from a storm, and also the total damage and economic impact.
And we believe that messaging is so very important in trying to make people understand what the real threat is.
For AccuWeather, I'm meteorologist Tony Lawback.
Most people are familiar with the yearly hurricane forecast. What they may not realize is the science that goes on behind the scenes.
I've been doing this for 45 years, so forecasting weather and looking at the tropics all my life. So this is something I take seriously.
AccuWeather hurricane expert Dan Kotlowski says it all begins with whether there will be an El Nino or La Nina. That has an impact on the wind shear that comes into the tropics during hurricane season.
I talk to him. I always talk to whoever's doing when I come in. I'm not.
Yeah.
Kotlowski and his team study weather maps and long-range computer forecasts to assess how the weather is going to unfold across an area roughly from the Caribbean to the coasts of Africa.
When all that information is put together and each individual submits their ideas, then we kind of come up with a consensus as to what the upcoming season is going to look like.
Kotlowski says his ultimate job at AccuWeather is to prevent loss of life and reduce vulnerability to hurricane-related hazards. And that means getting the forecasts right.
When you enter the field of meteorology, you realize that the decisions that you make on your forecast and the products that you put out may save the lives of thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people, or help them to make really good decisions. So all that is in the background, but you're more concerned about getting it right, and you're trying to message what the most important part of the threat is.
For AccuWeather, I'm Adam Del Rosso.
Preparing for a hurricane can be stressful, but it doesn't have to be difficult. Here are a few cool storm survival hacks you can use in a pinch. If you run out of room in your fridge, you can fill your washing machine with ice and use it to store foods and beverages that don't need to be kept as cold. Because the washing machine is metal, it will hold the cold fairly well. A good place to store valuables at risk of water damage is your dishwasher. The seal will prevent water from getting in. Fill your bathtub with water to use for washing and flushing toilets. Keep in mind that the bathtub is also a place you can shelter from tornadoes. Plan your meals ahead of time. Eat food that will spoil first and prepare dishes that can be eaten cold or after being thawed out. For more safety and preparedness tips and tools, visit AccuWeather.com/ready.
When trouble is brewing in the tropics and AccuWeather meteorologists here focus on the storm track, our team of reporters and field meteorologists and storm chasers load up and roll out. Most times, I'm paired up with storm chaser Mike Scantlin.
Wow, incredible!
Or videographer Stephanie, who just happens to be my wife. Steph started helping with hurricane coverage during the pandemic and has been by my side on dozens of assignments ever since, sometimes with our dogs Piper and Copper along for the ride. We pack enough supplies, food, bottled water, and fuel for 3 days to a week or more before entering the storm zone. As hurricanes approach the coast and the track shifts, we're constantly looking for safe places to report live. The clock is ticking. Sturdy buildings to take shelter in, and parking garages to get our vehicles and our gear to higher ground.
We're in a safe spot. We're blocked from the worst of the wind.
With so much wind and rain, it can be hard to see through safety goggles and hear meteorologists and producers through our earpiece during live coverage. Once the storm clears, comes the hard part, navigating around debris, staying clear of downed power lines and natural gas leaks, helping people who are hurt or stranded, and then, if they're willing, sharing their stories.
Well, I'm here, bro. I'm lucky.
When power and cell phone signal is down for days, we rely on these solar panels, battery packs, and satellite internet to stay connected and to report live.
I appreciate AccuWeather for actually being here.
Showing families what to prepare for, when to evacuate, how to stay safe, and what to expect when those evacuation orders are lifted so they can return home prepared after the storm. For AccuWeather, I'm Bill Waddell.
Did you know the biggest contributor to loss of life in hurricanes is storm surge?
That did not just happen in front of our face.
Oh my God.
Destructive wind and life-threatening flooding.
Oh my gosh.
We got some water, y'all.
Rising tides and intense storm surge carve a trail of destruction.
And about that much water.
I never expected the flood to be as high as it was.
In critical moments, neighbors become heroes despite the dangers.
There was gators in and out of the water while we're trying to help people get out from all down here.
Hurricanes leave an emotional toll on survivors.
I have nothing. Everything is gone. It's either there, and I don't know. It's just awful.
In the aftermath, survivors salvage what they can.
I'm trying to save all their baby pictures and memories. My parents are deceased, so I saved some of them, but a lot of them are gone.
Even though some homes are left in ruins, for many, leaving isn't an option.
My dad is buried on the island. I have an uncle and a great uncle buried right back here. Why would I want to leave my dad? I don't want to leave my dad.
Despite the heart-wrenching images mile after mile, the spirit of resilience is stronger than the storm.
I don't think paradise is lost. So paradise is paradise.
For AccuWeather, I'm Jillian Angeline.
I can't believe that.
Nearly 6 years after Hurricane Harvey, rebuilding continues in South Texas.
We still recover.
This is Marvin Jean King's home in Bloomington. After the storm, she repaired her roof that blew off, but she did not notice the water damage to her walls, ceiling, and floors.
You begin to notice the mold that's accumulating on the wall.
It was a challenge to find help to fix the growing problem.
If it's not announced in the churches or you belong to a certain organization, you don't come in contact with a lot of information.
With assistance from a local long-term recovery group, nonprofit Samaritan's Purse, and construction workers this year, repairs were free to Mrs. King. She and her family can live in a clean, safe home once again.
I'm truly grateful.
In Port Arthur, Judy Moore returned home a week after the storm. The water too deep to get there any sooner. She was thankful for help from strangers.
A bunch of men, I think about 13, 3 carloads, worked all day emptying my house, taking things out of it, and cutting out the walls to 4 feet high. Instead of seeing all of the bad, all of my things piled out in front, what I saw was God. Nobody chooses to lose all of their possessions. As I say, I've got all my family alive and well. That is the most important thing.
Disaster recovery is a long, difficult process. King offers this advice to new storm survivors.
You have to have patience.
For AccuWeather, I'm Jillian Angeline.
Amid the chaos and devastation after Hurricane Ian, we met Lewis McDonald. He had just found his beloved boat, swept away by storm surge at Fort Myers Beach.
In '95, my father and I built the Mac Attack, and God spared us, because when it broke free, it went all the way over there in the mangroves, and it settled down. Yep. It's special because my father and I built the boat, and then he died of cancer, so it's special.
1 year later, Lewis says that storm may have saved his life.
A blessing in disguise. I would have never found the cancer.
After several stressful days in the heat with little to drink and no access to bathrooms, Lewis says he ended up in the emergency room. Doctors found a kidney stone and soon after discovered Lewis had kidney cancer. 1 year later, life is finally turning around.
It's a struggle, but my health is good. The house just got fixed. I just got my wife's car back from the car shop, and I'm all clear of cancer. I don't have to go back for another year.
It took 3 cranes to get his beloved boat out of the mangroves. Lewis did all the repairs to the Mac Attack himself and is back on the water, offering fishing excursions to catch grouper and snapper.
Sat at the steering wheel. I just broke down because I was like, I made it. I'm in the water. The boat's operational. God took care of me. My dad looked after me, and I'm out of here. And I drove away, and I haven't been back since.
Lewis says it's too painful to return to Fort Myers Beach. He's grateful to be back in business, farther up the coast, and healthy enough to get back out on the Gulf.
There are miracles that happen even in tragedy.
For AccuWeather, I'm Bill Waddell.
Every hurricane season, we see it.
Come on. Come on.
In a time of crisis, first responders and good Samaritans stepping up.
I told my wife and my family, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go out. I have to do what I have to do. Grabbed all of our chainsaws, came down to Fort Myers, went to Sanibel, and that's when I started seeing all the bodies.
Helping not just people, but also animals.
Looks like you've seen better days, huh? I gotta stand on my tiptoes. Yeah, I do. I gotta stand on my tiptoes to come see you.
These people are the heroes of disaster.
Just you?
Risking their lives to help or save another.
When the flood happened, the water was like up to our chest. Some of us had to start swimming, and then there was gators in and out of the water while we were trying to help people get out from all down here.
To all those who've lent a hand in the wake of a hurricane, and to all those who will, AccuWeather thanks you.
He got a canoe. He got me on clear ground.
For AccuWeather, I'm Lincoln Riddle.